This is KMJ at KMJNow.com or wherever you stream. Welcome to the Marc Kapetan Show. This is attorney Marc Kapetan, your host. Today's show is brought to you by the Kapetan Brothers Law Firm. We've been serving the Central Valley since 1995. If you or anybody you know has been injured in an auto accident, a truck accident, or a motorcycle accident, give us a call at 559-498-8000. Or if you've been arrested or cited for a criminal offense, call us at 559-498-8000. Kapetan Brothers, we are the Valley's law firm. Also want to thank sponsor for our show, Arc Mediterranean Grill. If you're looking for some great Mediterranean food, contact, call, go by, take a takeout order, pick up, online, whatever. Arc Mediterranean Grill, 2 locations. One in Fresno at Champlain and Perrin, and one in Clovis. Arc Mediterranean Grill, great Mediterranean food. I love it. We love Arc Mediterranean Grill. Folks, in the early 1900s, my grandfather, John Kapetan, or as he is known by his Greek name, Ioannis Kapetanakis, came to America and settled in downtown Chicago. He started, ready Marcella? A hat cleaning business. No. Yes, there's always a relation to our next guest. A hat cleaning business with his brother, Peter, or as we knew him, Paniotti, in the late 1910s, located on Madison and Cicero in the south side of Chicago. It was called Hollywood Hatters. As a young kid, my father, Nick, or Nicky, as his mother would say, Nicky, she was, Nicky, come here, Nicky. He worked as a shoe shine boy at the shop and would regularly service the local businessmen, including the Greenspan brothers, who were bookmakers on the second floor above the Hattery. Every so often, the Chicago Police Department would come by to the shop and talk to my grandfather and warn him that they better go get little Nicky, who was shining shoes, upstairs and bring him down, because the police were ready to raid and arrest the Greenspan brothers. Yeah, seriously.
Oh my gosh.
In those days, everyone wore hats. It wasn't just the mobsters like the Greenspan brothers. I hope I don't get sued by I don't know if they're still around, that family. Sorry if the Greenspans out of Chicago. It was the style of the era. It was a style that has waned over the decades, and hat making, as a result, became a dying art. When I moved from the East Coast to Fresno and attended Clovis West, I noticed that every young man in Clovis had to have a big white Stetson. And you all have heard of Big Hat Days in Clovis. We all know what that's about. So, what a perfect place for someone to revive the dying art of hat making. My next guest did just that. She is the owner, proprietor, and hat maker of the Nicholson Hat Company. And after finding her passion, and it's truly a passion, in the hat industry, she's made her name in reviving a trade that was on the verge of extinction. So here to tell us all about it, I would like to welcome to the Marc Kapetan Show from the Nicholson Hat Company, Keryn Nicholson. Welcome, Keryn.
Thank you for having me.
How about that? We have a connection already.
We do. I was very surprised by that story.
So was I. So was Marcella. Okay. So you start a hat company in 2018. You're known as a hatter or a millinery, I found out. That's another term for a hatter, right?
It can be, yes.
Okay. You started it in your kitchen. All right. How did you go about starting something that is just, such an old tradition, something that's not even part of your generation?
Very good question. So I always like to credit, I get asked that question a lot. So I like to credit my father. He's not a hat maker, but he always wore a hat. He was a hat guy. I've also always worn hats. And so he basically gave me his old Stetson open road, which is probably the most popular Stetson style of all time. But it was huge on me, never fit me. So, but I really wanted to wear it out because it was a special piece that my dad gave me. So I started to sort of fiddle with it and, look up YouTube videos on how do I resize this hat so it fits me. So that's sort of what kicked it off. And that for about a full year, I started sort of buying old vintage hats and basically trying to reverse engineer them and figure out how they're made.
So, and I knew that, and I figured that would be maybe the first question that people would ask you. When you, though, get this hat from your dad's, is it just a fast, do you always delve into something like this? I mean, to sit there and say, hey, Dad, thanks for the hat, and then wear it around oversized, maybe put some, paper on the inside like they used to, right, to make it fit. But you actually take it to a level that was, no one would expect a young lady to do. And that is, you actually researched, and did you actually resize this hat of your dad's?
Technically, no. I did not rebuild that hat, but I did stuff it with like paper towels, like a lot of, a lot of people will do. But I think that hat specifically sort of opened that fascination with that world for me. And I think it was just because when I wore it, people would ask me about it. And then other people that would loved hats or wearing hats. So I sort of started to do that a lot and realized, maybe there's something here. It's becoming something that I'm really interested in talking about.
Is it something that the Nicholson company is now becoming known for, more of the Western wear Stetson type hats?
I would say what I'm known for now is what I like to call Western crossover or Western hybrid. So I do build a lot of Western inspired hats, certainly, and that's probably because of where we are. But I don't just build cowboy hats. So sometimes they'll have a fedora crown and then a Western brim. So I like to say that my specialty is a hybrid hat. So it's not just a clean-cut cowboy hat.
Your first hat that you worked on was a steamer, I think. Is that what it was? Or there's some mention in one of your articles that basically you started off building a steamer. What is that?
Well, I didn't build a steamer, but I did start building hats in the kitchen with a steamer. So the steamer was just after I did a bit of research on hat making and what kind of little bit of tools that I needed to start. That's when I purchased my first steamer, and then I started taking the vintage hats, and really I just used a little table in the corner of the kitchen.
Is that's where it all started out?
That's where it all started. And then I moved to the garage and so on and so forth.
Now you have a place at 1435 North Van Ness, and I was trying to picture it, and I realized, that was, what did they used to call that place back in the day? Vintage...
Well,
the Village, Van Ness Village, right?
Village, yes. It's still called the Van Ness Village.
Yeah, we used to play across the street back then it was called the Olympic Tavern, and then it was, I can't remember what else.
Audie's
Olympic,
Fred.
all that stuff, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I saw it, that's very cool. Now, is it still just you? Or?
It's just me. It's been me for about 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned basically it takes you how long to build, and these are all customized hats.
They're all custom made to order.
And It takes you how long to build a hat?
If I were just to work on one hat, I could build one hat in probably 4 or 5 days, including drying time.
Oh,
so
okay.
If I just were to work on one, then that's but that's not always the case.
and because I had read that basically sometimes it could take months to build a hat type thing.
Certainly. And that's mostly just because of, that's just the queue. So that would just be because of my order queue. And then also because ever since COVID in particular, this is just a material issue.
Yeah.
So just getting felts can take a really, really long time.
Yeah.
So most custom hatters are around the 8 month to over a year mark.
So you have, because you now are in demand. I mean, right?
I would like to think so.
That's what the backlog. There's material supply issues.
Certainly.
Also, but there's also a
combination of those two things.
There's also a demand.
No, absolutely, and I'm very, very, very grateful for that.
So are you building 50 to 100 hats, customized hats a year or more?
A year? More than that, I would say.
Any chance of getting employees in there?
I would very much like to. My goal was to do that this year, but I had a little bit of an injury setback, so I had to take a little bit of time off. Next 2025, that is the goal, is to bring something
I understand you got sort of a bum knee going on right now?
Yeah, well, 4 months out of ACL surgery, so we're doing good.
4 months out of ACL surgery.
We're strong now, so
and you were a runner, right? So I understand that's a big issue for you.
It was a huge issue, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
we're going to be back with Keryn Nicholson from the Nicholson Hat Company out there on 1435 North Van Ness Avenue, Fresno, California. Customized hats, awesome stuff. We'll be right back after this. This is the Marc Kapetan Show on KMJ. This is KMJ at KMJNow.com or wherever you stream. Hey, make sure to like us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram, right? Like and subscribe on YouTube. We do a podcast of this show. You can get the podcast at kmjnow.com or on the KMJ app. Afterwards, you can watch the video on YouTube. It's actually fun watching the video. You could see some of the great hats that Keryn Nicholson from the Nicholson Hat Company makes. But we do want to thank our sponsor of the show, which is the Arc Mediterranean Grill. Arc Mediterranean Grill. Let me pot this music down here. You know, it's like Noah's Ark, I like to say. Arc Mediterranean Grill. If Noah had Arc Mediterranean Grill and the Ikesian brothers cooking for him, it would have been a much happier 40 days and 40 nights. That's pretty corny, right? But the Arc Mediterranean Grill, delicious hummus, delicious mouth-watering dolmas and shish kebab, beef kebabs. My favorite, the chicken kebab plate that they have there. I love it all. If you want some baklava, you could take some baklava home. That's awesome. 2 locations, Champlain and Shepherd, and Herndon and Armstrong. Take some takeout for your office, or maybe take some home for the family for dinner. Arc Mediterranean Grill in Fresno and Clovis. Thanks, you guys, for the sponsorship. We are back on with Keryn Nicholson from the Nicholson Hat Company. She does custom-made hats, pretty wild stuff. You made a hat for Jewel, the musician, right? Singer?
I did, yes.
Okay, you gave it to her at a concert, I understand.
I did.
What concert was that?
I believe it was in Concord. In the Bay Area,
okay.
if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Yeah, because I saw her in Visalia years ago, and she was just acoustic by herself. She's I almost said the F word. Fantastic.
You mean fantastic?
Yeah, fantastic.
Yes,
yeah, that F word. Yeah. But she has that style. I mean, in fact, I got to say, you got a little bit of that look to you. You know, that style with yourself.
That's very kind. She's even cooler in person. I will tell you.
Was there much interaction?
There was. Yeah, we got to spend. I went with one. We have a mutual friend, so was able to go with her, and we basically met backstage in like a little backstage kind of garden area, and that's kind of where I gave her hat when she was in between. Being on stage.
And that's cool.
No, it was really.
She wore it that
amazing.
night?
She did. Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, now let me ask you, because this will get into the process of making hats. You go to Jewel and you say, I got a hat for you. Did you have her measurements? Did you know, like...
Oh yeah, no, certainly. Oh, no, I would never make a hat for someone that I didn't know their measurements.
Okay, so you met her ahead of time and took measurements, or you just said, go ahead and measure your head?
No. So the friend that we have a mutual friend, she basically asked her what her head measurement was, and if you follow Jewel on Instagram, you can see how many she wears a hat. Pretty much seemingly all the time. So she already knew her hat size, head measurement. So I just went off of that and.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have this thing that you got into. It became a passion for you, and we're going to talk about just passions for you in one of the next segments. But I understand you went around to tradesmen around town here in Fresno. You went around to cowboys. You went around to everybody, just asking, what's it take to have a good hat? Mm-hmm. You researched and studied this whole art.
Mm-hmm. I did, yeah. So in the beginning, I really didn't know, obviously, when you look for anything new, you don't really know where to start. So I just started where I could think of. So yeah, Clovis, went to a friend shop of mine called Sassano's. They've always been really helpful. So
Sassano, we had Greg Sassano here in the show. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Absolutely. Oh yeah, shout out to them.
I know and I know the cousins and all the brothers and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm great. Sure. Yeah, no, they're so great. So kind of picked their brains a little bit when I first got started, and then just made a lot of phone calls. But when I got started, there really wasn't a lot of, in terms of like hat making videos. There are a lot more now. That was about 7 years ago when I got started. So there really wasn't a lot. There weren't really any courses. There are now on how to build hats. But I also wanted to make sure that I went to someone that was really well respected. So I honestly, I taught myself. I'm self-taught.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's neat because there were all these trades. I had a master craftsman working at my house, and he said, oh no, I'm not a wood maker or a cabinet maker or whatever. He goes, I'm a master craftsman, literally. And he was this old 80-something-year-old guy, took pride. And that art was lost in all the trades. And it's great that there's a younger generation that's coming up and doing these kind of things. At the time that you got into it, and you go over to Sassano's menswear and stuff like that, were there just generic hats especially the cowboy hats, just generic hats that were being made that, oh, well, this one maybe over time will shape my head a little bit better, but it's, at least it's the right circumference, basically. Mm-hmm. Was there not a big industry of custom made hats
in town?
Yeah, or around the U.S.?
I was not, around the U.S. there certainly were. But really nowhere that I could find anywhere close to us. Yeah. So I couldn't find, I called around for months and I couldn't find anybody that was custom building hats, anybody that knew anything about it. So I sort of just saw, not only was I, intensely interested in it, but I sort of saw an opportunity in this town. I was like, wow, there used to be, to my knowledge, one or two people that did make hats back in the day in Clovis, but, that was years and years and years ago. So,
and I understand you were sort of soul searching as to what your path in life was going to be, and you were looking for something. When you started doing this, did you say, oh, this is just a hobby, or did you actually say, there may be a need for this in town, and maybe I'm the person to fill that need?
Definitely the latter.
Yeah.
Definitely the latter. It was very, I had been searching for a long time. I've done a lot of different things.
We'll get into it. Yeah. Absolutely.
But as soon as I started to do this to the point where I started to get, busy to where I thought I could quit my other job, I knew it's exactly what I was meant to do. It's I've only had that feeling once, and it was this.
Really? It connected that much?
It really did.
Okay. You don't come from anything. You come from Texas, right?
Yes.
Okay, but you don't come from, so maybe as a kid you saw the hat wearing and everything back in Texas and stuff like that. Dad, you said, wasn't a big hat wearer, but he gave you that thing. Do you think, your dad was a Air Force guy. You didn't go into the Air Force, but a lot of people go into something that they're related to their parents. Is it one of those things where that hat that he gave you was such a special thing, you think that was the impetus and that was the drive, or something literally sparked in you that hat making, out of all the industries in the world, that's what my passion is?
I think what it was ultimately was I've always wanted to work for myself, and I always wanted to create something, work with my hands. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to do something that was a really respected trade. And so I found all of those things with hat making. Yeah. And then after that I just was hooked. Absolutely hooked.
Yeah, and that's what's missing, just this pride in these trades that people are now starting to revive, whether it's metalwork or woodwork or whatever. Okay. So I'm Jewel. I come walking in. What are the measurements that you take? It's not just the circumference of the head, right? Everybody, I'll wear a 7 5/8 or something like that, ball cap, or. But my problem is my head is longer from forehead to the back of the head, and so I get a big red dot if I try to wear any type of hat. So what do you do? How do you do this process?
Yeah, so we don't just, as you said, we don't just capture head size, we capture head shape with something called a conformateur. So a lot of hat makers will have a special tool that we have made, or that you can find as an antique, but most of them have them made. And it's just basically like a halo looking device that we set on your head. It has all of these different plastic square units, and then we have little wing nuts on the sides. So you place it on your head sort of like a halo, and then it sort of captures your head shape. So as you said, I'm assuming you're probably more of a long oval versus somebody who'd be around and that. So,
or as my brothers would say, I have an alien head, but yes, okay.
That's true, yeah.
As a little baby, I had this big oblong head. Okay, you do that. You do all your hats out of felt, or will you work with other materials like leathers and stuff like that?
Nothing with leather. Felt, pretty exclusively felt, and then just started getting into some straw, but 90% of felt.
Felt is an ancient material, a material from the 1800s, a material from the more modern days.
So in my research, and it could have predated this, but my research brought it back to the early 1600s when they started actually making felted hats. It could have been earlier than that, and it probably was, but that was what I had come across.
And what is it? What is felt?
Felt is basically an animal fur product. So there's a variety of different felts. So you can have wool felt, you can have European hair felt. So it's just basically like a fur.
I didn't know that. I thought it was a cotton-based thing. It's a animal. What's the most common animal that is used?
So primarily for hat making, we use what's called beaver fur felt, and that's what's been used, again, based off the research for about 15th, 16th century.
But it's the hair, it's not the pelt.
Correct.
It's the hair on,
yes,
okay.
not the pelt.
And so they shave
yeah, it depends
the animal and then they what? It becomes like a paper making type thing where they lay it in water or what?
Well, there's a whole long process.
Yeah, so. I won't get into that.
Yeah,
okay.
no, it's a whole, but yeah, basically the felting process is very extensive. So it goes in what's called a cone. There's a whole thing.
Don't, no, we're going to bore the audience. But it's basically the thing, and it has waterproofing properties and stuff like that.
It does, yeah, certainly, yeah.
All right, and then it's shaped on a...
So when I get it, it comes in basically a more of a blank, and then I shape it on what's called a hat block.
Oh, hat block. Okay.
Yeah,
I just called my aunt in Chicago to ask her what the name of the Hollywood Hatters were. They said when they were done doing hatteries and hatting and went on to dry cleaning only, they threw out tons of those hat blocks.
Oh, that breaks my heart.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, Keryn.
I hope someone really good found those.
All right, we'll be back with Keryn Nicholson from the Nicholson Hat Company right after this. This is the Marc Kapetan Show on KMJ. This is KMJ at KMJnow.com or wherever you stream. Folks, you know the drill. Marcella, you ready for this? If you have been injured in an auto accident, a truck accident, or a motorcycle accident, who do they call, Marcella?
The Kapetan Brothers.
The Kapetan Brothers Law Firm. She knows that. Yes, she does. Kapetan Brothers Law Firm, folks. You've heard us for years now, so it's 559-498-8000. Listen, we could be very serious about this, but I have, if you've been injured in an accident, please give us a call because I know it's a very trying time and you're very scared, and we'll ease your concerns and we'll answer all your questions. But I want to get right back to my interview with Keryn Nicholson from the Nicholson Hat Company. All right, Nicholson, your dad is, what was he in the Air Force? Do you remember what he retired as rank-wise?
Oh, I should know that. I don't know.
Oh, no.
I don't actually
Daddy's
know.
little girl.
I know. I'll have to ask him later.
Was he a pilot?
He was not a pilot. He worked in the medical field. He was a medical technician.
Oh,
yeah.
Smart guy. My dad always used to say, if you're going to be in the military, Mark, go into the Air Force because they have the nicer military bases. Yep. And you're away from all the danger, basically. The bases are usually miles and miles away. You guys were in, you were stationed, Dad was stationed where and how long was he in the military? Lifetime career type thing?
No, probably half of my life, I would say. So,
lived in Texas, right?
Yeah, yep. So I believe it was in San Antonio because that's where I was born. And then my sister then we were up in Washington because my sister was born up there. So.
Yeah, it's funny because I was born in Maryland. Peter was born in Fresno. John was born in Memphis, Tennessee. So I have one of those lives. Did you really?
Yep.
Okay, so did you have this common experience? You talk about the passion, and I love you. You say basically hatting is not for the faint of heart. That's for sure. You get into this very sort of off the wall trade. I don't mean in a bad way, but you said it's mainly done by men, and you get this ultimate passion for this trade of hat making. But before that time, you went to school for what was it?
So my undergrad was in nutrition, dietetics, and food science, and then I have my graduate degree in international non-governmental organizations and nonprofit management, basically.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a mouthful, right?
That's a mouthful.
So yeah, food science, this, that, and the other thing, and then international organizations. Where I think you did it in London, right?
I did.
Yeah, you did your master's in London.
I did.
Okay, how do you go from? And again, I'm going to relate this because I think there's something to the fact that us guys in the military, the kids of people in the military, we have no real home as far as that's concerned, all right? We've moved all around. We make friends, and then we quickly give them up. Mm-hmm. And I think it relates to, you're sitting here saying, and I was a marine biology major who went into law, for God's sakes, right?
Yeah.
What is it? You are passionate about everything, but everything that you're passionate is so wildly diverse.
Are you asking why.
Yeah, I guess I didn't make that clear. What is it that for you that you were searching and you have this drive, whether it's running marathons, which we're going to talk about, or going to Ethiopia and helping AIDS, teach about AIDS. What was it in you, and where do you think that comes from that you have this, you'll go to the ends of the earth, but you still have this passion and drive with everything that you do?
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
You don't know?
I wish I knew. I wish I could tell you. I don't know. I've always been that way.
Yeah.
I think maybe it was a little restlessness for a long time. And I think I ultimately just wanted to kind of go out of my comfort zone. That's kind of how it started.
All right. So and listen, I told you from the beginning that I love talking psychology sometimes, and maybe you're not old enough like me to self-analyze. Okay. I had a secretary that basically would say, okay, you're driving me crazy. Your anxiety's through the roof, because I'd just be going a mile a minute, and I'd go from one case to the next case and blah, blah, blah. We got to do this. We got to do that. Blah, blah. And she'd go, you need to go to the track. You need to go run. Mm. And I would look at her and say, is it that bad? And she'd go, oh yeah. And she knew, and you were a marathon runner, or you were training and you did all that. And she knew that it's going to take me 3 or 4 miles running around that track before I could just sort of settle down. And I don't know if you see that in yourself or not.
I could certainly relate to that. Yeah, no, running was always my greatest form of therapy. Maybe that was the same, case for you as well.
It was my therapy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's, kind of quieted all of the ideas in my head, and that's where I would get the most clarity and the best ideas.
So do you get in that zone when you're, you start off at the kitchen table, you said, and then from the kitchen table, you go to the garage. Then you have a store and you're making customized hats for people. Do you get in that zone, and does it give you that endorphin type boost where you sit there and you say, I feel this is my zone. This is where I feel happy in life?
Yes. I would say I have to break up my day, though. I have to do something physical for sure. So whether that's, I haven't been able to run lately, but typically that's something that I would do. So if I'm spending half of my day sewing, which is honestly got a lot of my day, but I really love that. That's kind of peaceful for me. Then I have to break it up and I have to move my body. I think it's just like a restless thing that I have that I just have to continually move. But generally speaking, yes, my shop is definitely my safe space. It's my, whatever you want to call it, my sanctuary, Yeah.
Is that sound of that sewing machine?
You know what it is? I really love hand sewing, though. I do a lot of hand sewing. I do more hand sewing than I do anything with a machine. So machine is really brief for the most part. So most of the stuff I do is by hand. Is that just killer on the hands?
Is it tough trying to get through the felt like that?
I use a leather needle, so that makes it way easier. But if it was any other needle, it's really tricky.
Wow, that is crazy. Yeah. Okay, listen, you part of that, the passionate things that you've done in life. You spent how long in Ethiopia?
So I was supposed to be there for 2 years. I was there for about 3 months.
Oh,
there's a whole story there.
Okay, well, hey,
we don't
have time. Can you break that down into a quick thing?
So I was in the Peace Corps. Usually Peace Corps is 2 years, 27 months. But there was a lot of security issues in the village where I was, and then I got really ill. So it was sort of a combination of those two things. A lot of us had to leave early. I was one of those people, and then we were given the option to go back, but I just opted not to go back.
Like ill, like something from a disease that you would only get in Ethiopia?
Parasites and just nasty stuff.
Oh, my Lord.
So it was sort of a combination of security and just sick, illnesses.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. We're good now. We're good.
You're good now. When you came back, you actually did marketing, managing for a running company here in town. What company was that?
I did. Fleet Feet. Well, it used to be called Sierra Running Company, but now it's Fleet Feet.
Fleet Feet. Yeah, I was about to say, hey, I get my Hokas there.
Yes,
I love my Hokas. You probably were there when I got it from them.
Yeah,
I love Fleet Feet. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you done marathons?
I have. Yeah, I started off with halves, and then you go to fulls, and then I went to ultras, and I think I preferred ultras only because it was mostly trail.
Oh, so good for you. I've never done one. I couldn't do it. No.
I don't do them now.
Just run long enough to get rid of the anxiety.
That's
all right,
fair.
we'll be right back after this with Keryn Nicholson from Nicholson Hat Company. Great company. All right, we'll be right back after this. This is the Marc Kapetan Show on KMJ. This is KMJ at KMJNow.com or wherever you stream. We want to thank our sponsor. Welcome back to the Marc Kapetan Show, by the way, before we get to that. I want to thank our sponsor, the Arc Mediterranean Grill. If you're looking for some great Mediterranean food, go see the Akizian brothers at Arc Mediterranean Grill. 2 locations, one in Fresno, one in Clovis. Also want to give a little promo to the Nicholson Hat Company. Nicholson Hat Company. We have our guest, Keryn Nicholson from the Nicholson Hat Company. A custom hat company crafting bespoke hats made from the finest felts in America. They're built to last a lifetime. Right, Keryn?
That's right.
That's right. So make an appointment for a fitting. You could call... What do they call, Keryn?
Yeah, no. Do you want me to give the number?
Yeah. How do they do it?
Sure,
How do you make an appointment?
Yeah, so you call me.
Call you.
At 559-385-0909.
385-0909.
That's right.
That's Keryn.
That's Keryn.
From the Nicholson Hat Company. Yeah, great stuff. I was looking at the pictures. It's just beautiful stuff. I want to thank Billy Choate, who referred me to you. He says he read your article in Cowboys and Indians. Everything is Cowboys and Indians with Billy. I don't think he ever grew up. Yeah,
that. That's
he's
so great. I have that on my desk at home.
Do you really? The magazine? Yeah, Cowboys and Indians magazine. He says he has a 100% beaver hat that he wants to bring to you and show you. By the way, you got to check out this hat. It is so lightweight. I don't know how they do it or what they do, but it's a beautiful hat. Very lightweight. He says it's a very expensive hat now, by the way.
I'm very excited to refurbish it for him. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Billy, have fun. So they call you up. Pricing anywhere from what to what on these hats?
So custom hats start at $700. There's a $7, $8, $9, and $1,000 price point. So it just depends on the type of hat that you do.
And based on the felt, based on the...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, based on the felt.
What are some of the options?
So basically, if I would do like a Pure Beaver 100X Fedora, there's something called a 50X, which is a blend, and then there's what we call a Pure Beaver 100X, which is like the Cadillac. So that's the best of the best that you could get from any company. So those hats are going to be really tough as nails. They're meant to last a lifetime, and then you could wear them in all types of weather conditions. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So I go to a restaurant this last week, and there's about 5 guys that have their baseball caps on inside the restaurant. Drives me insane. All right. Is this fedora style? What's your favorite style, by the way, to make?
Oh, that's a good question. It changed. It used to be fedoras, and now I want to say it's really wide brim cowboy hats. Probably wide brim cowboy hats.
Is that a 10 gallon? Have you made a 10-gallon hat?
I have made a 10-gallon hat. It takes a lot of work, but I've done it.
You need a big head to wear one of those things.
I have.
Okay. It is hat, besides the cowboy and Clovis and stuff like that, is hat making coming back in style? I mean, I'm not hat making, wearing hats.
It's all over the board. It's all over the place. If you go to TikTok or Instagram and you just type in like hat making, there's so many people, like so many videos. Yeah, no, totally. And the shows, I mean, you talk about Yellowstone and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that just exploded. And it's all over the runways.
So you were thinking that Yellowstone was a big reason why the cowboy hat style came back.
I know it was for sure.
How about other styles, the fedoras and stuff?
Yeah, the fedoras and stuff. I mean, the flat brims were really big when I got started, like kind of the wide flat brims for women. And then most of the time when I build a fedora, it's for, not all the time, but I build a lot of fedoras for, musicians, jazz musicians, and that kind of thing, or someone that just wants a really casual, and it's not just fedora cowboy hat. There's a lot of other things that are intermingled between those.
So we're going to start getting rid of the baseball caps, hopefully, please.
Let's do that.
Okay, especially when they wear them backwards. That drives me insane.
Yeah.
Okay, so taking off your hat when you walk in, is that a gentlemanly thing to do? Is that no longer a necessary thing to do?
I think it's a very gentlemanly thing to do.
Absolutely, right?
I would, yes. You should always tip your hat to a lady or yes.
Oh, tip the hat. Oh, I like that. See?
I think you should take your hat off to show respect. I still Yes, I still very much believe in
lost arts and lost manners we're talking about. Yeah. A woman wearing a hat inside, or should she take it off?
No, she should not take it off. She can leave her hat on. Yes. Different rules apply.
Screw equalities. That is beautiful.
Typically we have the hair stuff going on, So
okay, how do you guys wear a hat with these modern cars? They have the what do they call it? Headrest? I don't know how you wear a hat.
Oh, I don't wear my hat when I drive.
You do take it off.
Depending on the hat. If I have a shorter brimmed hat, I can certainly wear it when I drive. Those hats I call the everyday driver, because you can literally, just as what you're describing, you could wear it with the headrest. So it's just a shorter brimmed hat. But if I'm wearing the hat that I'm wearing now, I probably would just set it on my passenger seat or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I had a great quote from you, and it sort of was what we talked about on the last segment, basically traveling around. And you said, I got used to reestablishing myself and I never found it threatening. And when we're talking about moving from place to place and the different jobs and the different passions you had, it's weird that you saw these new challenges as they could be a threat, but I'm not going to let it affect me as a threat. Mm-hmm. I always say my issue with traveling all around the world is I have major abandonment issues. Mm-hmm. I have way bad problems with the relationships and stuff like that. Yep. But it's funny that I think the effect on you, maybe, me again analyzing, is whether this moving in the military and all that kind of stuff, you see these new challenges as whether they're threatening or not.
I would agree with you, probably. Yeah, no. I think I just find it exciting. I just find those things, I like being able to overcome those feelings if I am anxious about something. I think that's a big part of who I am. So I like the idea that I could overcome something and then find myself on the other side of that. So I think that's seemingly how I've tried to at least live my life as up to now. So,
Well,
and that may change, but it's worked okay so far.
You gave up 2 majors. I'm sure Dad's not happy about the paying for the college. And no, I'm teasing you.
The second one I'm paying for. So
I'm teasing you because all of those things help give you the confidence, the life experience, or whatever it is to go and open your own business like this. I think it's great that you did it. And who am I to say? Because I was a marine, like I said, I was a marine biology major who just switched on a dime. The future. I understand you've done some collaborations with big companies like Wrangler and Ariat. Menswear and stuff, or Western wear and stuff like that. What kind of collaborations and what do you think that future is going to look like for you?
Yeah, I do have a couple projects that are in the works right now, but they're still in sort of the approval negotiation stage, so I can't talk about those. But hopefully,
really,
yeah, I do. Yeah, so hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed. But no, certainly, I'm always looking to work with brands that I obviously look up to and respect, and then same with sort of country music artist. I have a couple of those things in the works, hopefully. So,
I mean, do we see a Nicholson name being as big as a Stetson name type thing? I mean,
oh man, I don't know if I wouldn't even want to even comment on that because they are the OGs. So I could just hope that I could just continue to support myself.
Is there in that vein? Is there a style that you say this is the Nicholson style? That's the Nicholson look, or are you still trying to find that?
Yes. Okay. So I have a style I named it called the San Joaquin. And it's what I talked about in the beginning is it's a Western hybrid. So the top of the hat or the crown of the hat looks like a classic pinched fedora crown. It's not like a cattleman's crease. And then the brim is a shorter brimmed Western brim. So it's sort of that everyday driver. Yeah. It's something that I think you could wear all the time.
Yeah, more functional than these young Clovis West kids that I would see in their pickup trucks with the big, huge hats.
Right.
Yeah,
and there's a place for that too, but that would be a style that I hadn't seen anything exactly like that, so I was like, we're going to go this way.
Do you have a booth at Big Hat Days every year in Clovis?
Not Big Hat Days, but I do the Clovis Rodeo.
You do the Clovis Rodeo?
That's more in my vein of things, Clovis Rodeo.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Future for you personally? More travels, back to Ethiopia?
Oh, probably not, but definitely more travels and more rodeos and more pop-up shows. And definitely.
Yeah. Well, I had a blast with you. I really appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
From the Nicholson Hat Company, custom-made hats. Call up at, what is it again? Give me that number one more time, Keryn.
559-385-0909.
385-0909. Call Keryn from the Nicholson Hat Company and get your custom-made hat. I appreciate it. Keryn Nicholson, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week on the Marc Kapetan Show. Thanks to my wonderful producer, Marcelo Solorio Taylor. And we'll see you next week. This is KMJ.